This is Franchise Today, brought to you by FRM Solutions, providers of the best-in-class software solutions for franchise relationship management. Franchise Today is your destination for weekly information, conversations, and interviews with accomplished industry leaders, all of whom share best practices for sustainable growth and sensible franchising. Here now, your host, Stan Friedman, to kick off this week's podcast.
Today is Wednesday, November 3rd. I'm Stan Friedman, and this is part 2 of a very special edition of Franchise Today, a tribute to my best and closest friend, to my brother, Jerry Darnell. Last week, I proudly presented an encore of Jerry's visit to the podcast from way back in February of 2016, when Paul Segreto and I were still doing Franchise Today together. As you've heard if you've already listened, production standards were a little more relaxed back then, so I apologize for some of the inconsistencies in modulation, but if you push through that, there's no mistaking the voice, the words, and wisdom that Jerry shared with us all. Today, I present part 2 of this tribute, and I do so with thanks to my sponsors, FRM Solutions, Atmosphere TV, and Zor Forum, for allowing me to present this episode commercial-free. Today's tribute to Jerry will feature 33 voices added to my own, echoing a single message. Jerry was filled with passion for life, for franchising, and for helping others every step of the way. So, go grab a box of tissues and get ready to shed some tears as I tee up these voices, quips, sound bites, and anecdotes from some of those who, like me, truly love this man. I'm Stan Friedman. This is Franchise Today, and a very special tribute to the late, great Jerry Darnell. Last weekend, I got to attend the family's celebration of Jerry's life in Princeton, Kentucky, and met many who have known Jerry far longer than any of us. But I can guarantee you this, beyond Bonnie, Tara, Deanna, and Jerry's brothers, nobody could possibly love Jerry more than his franchise family. And for that, I thank Bonnie for sharing so much of him with us. There were a lot of memories and lots of love in that room. And the celebration opened with a beautiful expression of love by Jerry's daughter, Tara. Listen.
What makes real heroes is found in their hearts. I'm so thankful that God blessed me with a dad that had a real hero's heart. I'm equally thankful that Bonnie and I spent many of the last few weeks of his life near him at the hospital, and he passed away peacefully sleeping, being reminded how much we and others loved him. He knew he was my hero. Late evening of October 10th, he left behind my second mom, Bonnie, his wife of 39 years, along with myself and my husband, Kenneth, who he loved as a son, plus another whom he loved just as a daughter of his own, Deanna. Dad was the oldest of 4 brothers who are here with us today, along with our cousin Steve, who was also like a brother to my dad. But my dad's life, friendship, and love touched countless families and friends, ones that he's had for decades. My father died, loved, and important man to many. I always knew my father as a man in the service of others. He was a man of unshakable optimism, stubbornness, kindness, and conviction, who would give the shirt off of his back to help another. Of course, as his daughter, I didn't know him in his childhood, but I heard the stories of him growing up in western Kentucky. He loved horses, used to barrel race as a kid, adored the mountains, skiing, golf, fast cars, and owned several Great Danes. Growing up, I recall stories of him being a paper boy and mowing grass for many of the friendly faces in the town of Princeton. In high school, he drove a 1965 red Chevelle Super Sport, and there are countless stories of boys being boys, driving tractors and going to the skating rink, and brothers going out with their girlfriends together on double dates. His childhood was full of mischief and happy anticipation for his life and journey ahead. My dad met my mom while he was serving in the U.S. Army in his early 20s and had me shortly thereafter. Dad's knee was injured in the Army after taking too many parachute jumps and later slipping on ice from a vending machine at one of the bases. But that didn't stop him from pursuing other dreams. My dad, like a typecast character in a play, stepped from one type of service into another. Seamless somehow, he went from protecting and serving his country to protecting and serving a community. So he did volunteer work with youth and became a salesman to my maternal grandfather, Tony Breedice. Tony owned Breedice Brothers Shoe Repair and Luggage Repair in Georgetown near Washington, D.C. My dad helped my grandfather build the business to 5 stores which served congressmen, senators, and U.S. presidents, including JFK. He helped them expand further by establishing relationships with several large department stores like Woolworths and Lord & Taylor. Even back then, my father was making connections and building bridges to a life of entrepreneurship, franchising, and business consulting. My parents divorced when I was 4, but remained friendly, and when I was 9, he met Bonnie, the greatest love of his life. I remember traveling with my father and Bonnie every summer to many of the franchising conventions and trade shows and industry events while I watched my father on stage as a keynote speaker to hundreds. I was always in awe of how many people he had mentored, coached, and connected with on a personal level. He was often recognized at many of the franchise events and galas we attended, including receiving the Philanthropic Award and being inducted into the Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame. My dad didn't think about how much he helped others. It was just in his nature. And he did so by asking little or nothing in return. Dad, like his family, wanted them near. He liked his friends and continued to make new ones, though he had many. He liked to help, so he contributed to charities and causes beyond counting. He liked his veteran brothers, for they were thinkers too and served. We shall miss him and honor him in our memory every day. This reading by Marco Codgill reminds us of Dad. I want the dust of daring on my shoes, a spark of madness in my mind, and a love that's too big for my heart. With these, I gain the footing of a life bigger than I am, one that will matter, one that will make people glad that I lived and passed. Rest in peace, Dad. We will miss you and be grateful in celebrating the many wonderful memories of your life.
Next, we heard from Ulrich Johnson, O.J., as those of us close to him know him. Like his namesake, O.J. too played ball in the NFL, and he's even lived in South Florida. But trust me, that's all that this O.J. has in common with the other. O.J. is also as talented a singer, songwriter, recording artist, and performer as he was a linebacker for the Vikings, Jets, and Patriots. In fact, early in his NFL career, Jerry was Ulrich's big brother. O.J. lived with Jerry when Jerry lived on Long Island in 1999, and O.J. was playing for the New York Jets. O.J. the performer brought some of his talent, along with his love for Jerry, to the family tribute in Princeton. Let's listen.
I'm not going to say much. There's another time for that, but a very, very special man to me. Met him almost 20 years ago. Lived with him for a year. And those who know that was a very pivotal time in my life. A lot of success. And he showed me really a big part of showing me how to be a man. This song is called You'll Never Walk Alone. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high. And don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet bitter song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with God in your heart, and you never walk alone. You never walk alone.
I know that many more wished that they could have attended the family celebration of Jerry's life, but attendance was limited by the size of the venue as well as respect for the family's wishes to keep it somewhat intimate. So today, we're going to do the next best thing. Last week, I presented Jerry's voice to you as part one of this tribute. Today, we're going to hear from many of you as you share your thoughts, stories, memories, and quips about Jerry. You're listening to a tribute to Jerry Darnell on this, a very special edition of Franchise Today, presented commercial-free courtesy of FRM Solutions, Atmosphere TV, and Zor Forum.
My name is Doug Smith. I work with Jerry Darnell at Benetrends and Guyton Financial and came away with a feeling that Jerry knew everybody and was a repository of the history of franchising. Thanks, Jerry.
Hi, this is Mimi Hamilton. When I think of Jerry, the first thing that comes to my mind is how wonderful he always was to me. I worked with him at Mako and Benetrends, and he was always looking out for me, and I truly appreciated everything he did for me. And he was funny. He made me laugh all the time, and I'm truly going to miss him. Rest in peace, Jerry.
Hey, Stan, Bill Chafee here. Thank you for allowing us all to participate in the celebration of his life and say goodbye to Jerry. To me, his personal courage in everything he did, he believed in himself. But more than that, the courage he believed in others. He always believed in others, including me, more than he believed in himself. He thought we were the greatest. We could accomplish anything we wanted to do, and he was the best motivator that I ever had in my life. So thank you for your courage, Jerry. We miss you, and God bless us all. Thank you.
This is Rob Everly. I worked with Jerry at Mako. He was my mentor there, one of my main mentors in franchising. I've been in franchising now for 23 years. Jerry had actually had so much trust in me from his mentoring that he would have me do all the discovery days for him while he was traveling, even though there was more seasoned franchise development people there. I also worked for Jerry at Benetrends, and my son just loved Jerry, thought he was a great guy. Jerry was a mentor, a friend, and I'm sorry to get a little emotional. He was like a father figure to me. He called me a lot to check in on me. He tried to line me up with certain jobs when I needed to find other employment, and he would always try to match me up with people on LinkedIn as well as Facebook that were franchise related so I can network more. Jerry was a great guy, and franchising has lost a great person.
This is Ralphie Russo, and thank you, Stan, for organizing this and putting it together. My memory of Jerry is how much he loved all of the people in franchising and genuinely cared for their well-being and their success. Jerry made it his business to ensure people could learn and share his knowledge and also find a path to employment and success. He was a true believer in the franchise model and franchise system and just a terrific mentor for me throughout my career. Thank you, and rest in peace, Jerry.
This is Nate Greenberg from Siegel Financial Group, formerly of Franchise America Finance. I am going to miss Jerry Darnell so much. So much of what Ron Feldman and I built with Siegel Financial Group and Franchise America Finance we could not have done without Jerry's help. And like everybody, I have a story too, but the short version is the first time I encountered Jerry, he was looking after one of his candidates for Mako for financing. He called to see how that was going. And after I took care of that for him and with him, he asked, as he always asks everybody, what can I do for you? And I shared with him that despite having a background of some successful sales activities, doing networking as an attorney, that I was having trouble making cold calls. And he took me under his wing for 2 weeks, saying, if you'll hold yourself accountable to me, I will help you. And still to this day, when I have trouble with cold calls, I go back to the lessons learned. Jerry, I will miss you, and so many of the things that were deeper and that you shared with me that the time here does not permit to share. Love you, Jerry, and thanks, Stan, for doing this.
This is Mark Ehrlich. I first met Jerry Darnell when he was working in the eyeglass industry. And then I introduced him to Sean Jones and some of the other NFL players, and we started a group. Jerry was one of my best friends since the beginning of my involvement in franchising. And talking to him and Bonnie, and Jerry was just always a stand-up guy. He had a big heart, and he would give his time to anybody who had a legitimate question. Jerry Darnell is a superstar in my book, and will always remain so. I'm glad that he participated with the football players as well as helping franchising grow. And thank you for the opportunity to say blessings and prayers for Jerry.
Shelley's son. Jerry was always there, especially after my divorce, every month or so, checking on me, checking on the boys by phone or by text. The biggest heart in franchising, and is someone that is going to be so very much missed. Always got to refer to him as Uncle Jerry. He always had a smile across the room whenever we would make eye contact, and he has been a huge connector in all of franchising, and many of us owe a lot of our connections and introductions and smiles to Jerry over the years.
Hi, this is Tom Portese with MFE Expositions. I have known Jerry for over 30 years, and I have had the fortunate happenstance to benefit so much by some of the things he did for me, personally and for the company. It made no difference to Jerry whether you were a salesman in a company or a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He was always willing to help and always willing to share some great insight. I miss him already, and I can't tell everyone how much I appreciate what he did for me personally and for the company over those 30 years.
Hi, this is Sheila Fisher. I am with MSC Expositions. I just wanted to state, it's ironic because I'm in a trade show now and this is where I met Jerry. Jerry was an amazing man with the biggest heart. He always put other people first and went out of his way to help anyone he could. I'll never forget meeting Jerry at one of the events early in my career and having a long conversation with him. We discussed how this industry was so close-knit, how everyone knew everyone, and I said to him, how as someone as new as me to this world can I ever make new connections and infiltrate this group? Well, good old Jerry, a week later, he called me and started introducing me to whomever he could. I had phone calls, I had emails. He just really was a wonderful person. He played a big part in helping me grow, and I will miss his support, mentoring, and most of all, his friendship. Godspeed, Jerry. Miss you.
Hi, this is John Hayes. There's so many stories about Jerry. I think the thing that I love most about Jerry is that he was always willing to help. He brought enthusiasm to the franchise community, but he also had a genuine love for people and for helping people achieve whatever it was they wanted to do. He was always there to help, always there with a good story, always there with encouragement, and I've treasured a relationship with Jerry and Bonnie that goes back 35 plus years, and I always credit them for my early encouragement in franchising and for helping me find my footing in the franchise community. We surely miss Jerry, and we continue to love Bonnie. God bless you.
Scott Lair, formerly of the IFA and now with GT&S Franchise Executive Search. Jerry meant so much to me. I met him probably the first expo that I worked in 1990 when I first started at the IFA, and I saw him at every other expo between the time of my beginning at IFA and when I left the IFA. So hundreds of franchise expos. And I probably talked with him at least once a month, if not twice a month. And Jerry always was asking me how he could help raise money for FranPack, to help us get new members, to introduce me to somebody who needed to be plugged into the IFA. He was always a friend and always helpful to me and to others in the franchise community. I miss you, Jerry. I love you.
Paul Rocchio here from the International Franchise Association. Jerry Darnell was a dear friend. I've been with IFA over 20 years, and I always remember Jerry. He was extremely welcoming and friendly to me when I started at IFA, would always help me, would always call me, check in on me. Whenever it was my anniversary, my wife and I anniversary, he would always send me a note, whether it was on Facebook or text, and wish us a happy anniversary. I'll always remember that about him. Also, the fact that he would always be the first one to, quote unquote, like anything on Facebook. It was amazing how he did that. And a group of us were all talking about that right before we heard of his passing and how we missed seeing that from him. And I'll always remember that. He was always very helpful and would always be a great ambassador for us every year at our annual convention, meeting with new members, encouraging people to join IFA. He was instrumental and helpful in so many ways when it came to new franchisors or even suppliers for that matter. Great man, Jerry. We'll miss him dearly.
Hey, Stan, Gary Kelm with Sunbelt Franchise Resales. You know, when I think about Jerry Darnell, the first thing that comes to my mind besides the godfather of franchising is the V card. Anytime I call Jerry with a question, concern, issue, problem, it seems like within 1 minute I had an email from him with somebody's V card. I think in your interview back in 2017, you called him the great connector. That's exactly what he was. He built bridges between people, and he had a resource for everything. And I was looking through all my old emails, all the V cards he sent me over the years. It was pretty amazing. So the V card was what sticks out for me. Thank you very much for doing the tribute. I think it's a terrific thing. I know you were a good friend of his. I'm sure you guys are still grieving with the loss, but I appreciate that you're doing this. Thanks, Stan.
Hi, this is Jack Munson from Social Geek Radio, and I've been thinking a lot about Jerry lately, and especially about knowing your value. A few years ago, we were working together at a franchise supplier company. He was consulting and I was running sales. So we spent a lot of time together at some of the franchise events. And at almost every event, there was always some other supplier who would approach Jerry and say, hey, Jerry, how can we work together? Which basically meant they wanted him to send them leads, and they would always promise to give him 10%, 15%, or whatever if they closed something. And Jerry just had no part of that. His response to these people was always the same. He would say, here's how we can work together. You write me a check, and I will work for you. And it always got a laugh out of me. I'm laughing thinking about it now. But what it taught me, and again, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, what it taught me is know your value and make sure anyone you're in business with knows your value as well. So thanks, Stan and Franchise Today, for putting this together. I can't wait to hear what everybody else is going to share.
Hi, this is Michelle Rowan, President of Franchise Business Review. Just wanted to take a minute and mention that Jerry wasn't just the first person to like all your posts on social media. He was always the first to greet you at every event, and he always had a big fat smile on his face. He went out of his way to meet everyone and to make them feel included, and was always looking for ways that he could help you, never thinking about what you could do for him. He was a big energy, and he will be missed. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet him, and he always made me feel welcome from day one.
This is Kit Vinson with Friedman Franchise Manuals. Jerry was one of my mentors and friends for a very long time. Jerry was a walking Rolodex. He had umpteen bazillion contacts, and he could recall with ease who they were, what they did, and connect me with whomever I needed to at the drop of a hat. It's a truly amazing talent. We shared rooms at conventions, we shared leads, and we shared the love of the world of franchising. I will miss you, Jerry, and I will see you when I get there.
There are many more voices ahead in the next segment. Still to come, Paul Segreto, Pete Baldine, Mike Drum, Shane Evans, Andrew Sherman, Brian Schnell, Paul Wobert, Brian Summers, Gary Gerke, David McKinnon, Brad Fishman, John Tezza, and to wrap it all up, an amazing send-off for Jerry from Ryan Hicks, someone that Jerry has spent a great deal of time mentoring these past few years.
This is Paul Segreto. Really tough thinking about Jerry being gone. I've known him for a while, and he'll be missed. But I specifically will miss him on the morning of every birthday, when he always made sure he was the first one to leave me a voicemail and wish me a happy birthday. I remember one time specifically, and it's helped me to this day, where Jerry contacted me early one morning after seeing a post that I put on Facebook. And, you know, Jerry and I both were on Facebook nonstop. And I had had a rough night. Things weren't going well. And I talked about not being able to sleep. And he called me the next morning, and as Stan pointed out at the Franchise Development Conference in his tribute to Jerry, Jerry had a way of holding you accountable, not to anybody else, but to yourself. And just like the movie The Godfather, and Jerry certainly was the godfather of franchising, when the Godfather says to Sonny, don't ever let anybody outside the family business know what's on your mind. And that's exactly what Jerry said to me that morning. He said, don't let people know, especially the ones that don't like you or your competitors, don't let them know what's on your mind. Keep it to yourself, and you know you have friends like me and others that you can talk to. That will live with me forever.
This is Pete Baldine, and I certainly have to participate in this tribute to Jerry. Jerry's a very good friend of mine, very close with him, and I'll make this short. Jerry introduced me to a lot of people. We talked very frequently, but my favorite memory of Jerry was this. When Jerry and I would talk, sometimes we talk about franchising, sometimes we talked about horses, sometimes we talked about hay, being that we both had horse farms. And my favorite memory with Jerry was this. About 5 years ago in Illinois, where I am, we had a terrible drought, and the hay prices skyrocketed, and you couldn't find it anywhere. And I got a phone call out of the blue one day from Jerry, and he said, hey, how's your hay situation? And I said, well, I've got some, but I'm worried about making it all the way through the year. And he said, well, write these numbers down. He gave me a couple of numbers. He said, these are my hay suppliers down here in Kentucky. We're fine down here. I've already called them. They know who you are. They know you're a friend of mine, and they're ready to ship hay up to you in Illinois if you need it. So no worries, my brother. Just give them a call, and you'll be taken care of. I just thought that was the most awesome display of friendship. It was just great. He always ended every call with, love you, brother, and I will miss him dearly. Pete Baldine signing off.
This is Mike Drum, franchise attorney.
I was told I have to keep this short, so I've been thinking, what do I say about a man like Jerry Darnell? And I thankfully came up with two things I want to convey. One is, I don't remember when I actually first met Jerry Darnell. He's that kind of person that was always in my life, and I really could not even pinpoint the day I met him. I think many will have a similar experience. He's just always been in the background or foreground of franchising. And then the second thing I want to say is Jerry Darnell would always say one thing every phone call, every meeting, and it was, hey, Mike, what can I do for you? How can I help? And I think that sums up the man. Jerry, you'll be missed.
This is Shane Evans, co-founder of Massage Heights. You know, there are some people in your life that make an impact, and there are some people that make an impact on many. Jerry Darnell was just one of those people. Jerry is a staple in franchising and a person that you couldn't miss and a person that you definitely would notice that if they weren't there at all. That was Jerry. He made an impact on so many lives with knowledge, with his smile, with his desire to help people, and franchising is just not going to be the same without Jerry. To Bonnie and family, wishing you just lots of love and hugs and just thinking about you as you go through this time. And again, Jerry will be missed immensely by so many people. He was very, very loved.
Hi, it's Andrew J. Sherman. I'm a partner at Cypress Shaw. Jerry, you were a great friend, a mentor, a master networker for 35 years. I was proud to call you my friend and colleague. I miss you. We all miss you. The legacy that you left behind is something that we all should be aspiring to replicate. My love goes out to Bonnie and the family, and you definitely belong in the eternal Hall of Fame of franchising, my friend. I'm very grateful for all the time that we had together, all the great advice you gave me, and all the wonderful memories that will be stuck in my brain for a lifetime. Thank you, Stan, for this opportunity.
This is Brian Schnell from the Faegre Drinker Law Firm in Minneapolis. Just wanted to share my memories and tribute to Jerry Darnell. Jerry is the reason and exemplifies why so many of us are passionate about franchising, about our franchise family and the community. And again, Jerry just exemplified all that good and that right about the humanity and the friendship and the personal connections. If you were a friend of Jerry's, you felt that way without question. Jerry was always there supporting everyone. And in particular, in my view, nobody did more for the supplier community than Jerry Darnell. And the leadership and friendship and mentorship that Jerry exhibited to suppliers, especially those new to franchising, second to none, and will always remember that. Jerry will always be thinking of you and know that you'll always be in my heart. Thank you.
Paul Walbert. I met Jerry probably 30 years ago. At that point, I mean, we were pretty young guys in the franchise space and making ourselves known. But the one thing I always admired about Jerry was the fact that he was a connector and always had a positive word for anybody that approached him and took the time to talk with him. I also appreciated the fact that I could use him as a sounding board and I could talk to him, and he either had an experience that I was looking for some advice with, or he knew somebody that had gone through some of those same trials and tribulations. I always had him high on my list, probably not communicated enough with him in the past, but man, I'm sure going to miss him and seeing him at any conference or event. Thanks for the opportunity.
Hello, my name is Brian Summers with Jersey Mike Subs. Just wanted to say a few words about Jerry Darnell, the mayor of franchising. You know, I've been involved in franchising for 20 years now, and when I started coming around to the franchising shows, whether it was the IFA show or the IFE or any type multi-unit franchising conference, Jerry was always there to grab you, take you under his wing, and introduce you to as many people as he could. Always the kindest of hearts and always with a smile on his face, tremendous energy and love behind those eyes. Entire franchising industry will miss you greatly, Jerry, and thank you for all your years of service.
Gary Gerke from Franchise Phones by Clarity. So Jerry and I were connected in 2012 by a mutual friend, David McKinnon, and having not known much about Jerry's storied history in franchising or the extent of his network, in the early days, I'd just smile and nod when he'd talk about knowing this person in franchising or being connected with that person or doing this deal or that deal. And it wasn't that Jerry was being boastful. He was just telling stories and sharing a little bit. But at the time, I didn't understand why someone so well connected would be working with a tiny supplier startup like me. So we end up arriving at an IFA event, and we're at the host hotel, and it's the JW Marriott in Washington, D.C. The hotel's full, and at check-in, Jerry asked the manager for an upgrade to both his room and mine, saying that his Marriott status is permanently grandfathered at like triple titanium platinum with ruby clusters or something crazy like that. And, the manager's just nodding and, going, sure guy, being a bit of a snoot. And he said, told Jerry, well, all the rooms were full, and he had an attitude kind of like we should appreciate that we have a room at all. And then I hear Jerry say, I'm friends with Bill Marriott. And I think to myself, oh, come on, Jerry, stop it already. The hotel's full. This is Washington, D.C. It's the JW. All the franchising royalty is here. Just don't embarrass yourself or me. So we go ahead and we check into our basic rooms. About 30 minutes later, we meet back down in the lobby, and there's Jerry at the front desk, and he waves me over. And the manager now, his attitude has suddenly changed, and I walk up and I'm handed the key to a one-bedroom suite with a walkout patio and club access. So we walk away, and I'm wondering what happened. I asked Jerry, did you really call Bill Marriott? And Jerry says, well, I did, but Bill's out of town. So I talked to his very nice assistant, and she said that we'd be taken care of. Well, that was the first of many times that Jerry surprised me like that. And with Jerry, he always seemed to be able to do magic.
This is David McKinnon, former chairman of Service Brands International, Molly Maid, Mr. Handyman, Protect Painters, Pure Clean. I was a huge Jerry Darnell fan, and I miss him greatly. Jerry taught me how to sell franchises and how to do it in a way that was class, without pressure, in a way that would help people understand and see their new future. Jerry was always a positive light in franchising, and I've heard a number of people call Mr. Franchise. Definitely in my mind, Jerry Darnell is Mr. Franchise. Miss you, my friend.
This is Catherine Monson, CEO of Propelled Brands Fastlines International and chair of the International Franchise Association. What can you say about Jerry Darnell except a legend and an icon, but on a personal level, a man full of love and positivity. Even when he faced big challenges in his life, he was always positive, and he always led with love. Jerry, miss you big time.
This is Brad Fishman, and I've been very fortunate to know Jerry for many, many, many years and had some unbelievable trips with Jerry, and he's been such a big part of our life. And as I always used to tell him, he's been such a big part of my family's life, because as we've gone on vacation and traveled all over and put stuff up on Facebook, our family would always have a bet how fast Jerry would like a comment. So I used to joke around with Jerry that you've been all over the world with the Fishmans, but Jerry, the Fishmans send their love. You've been such an important part of all our lives. We miss you tremendously, and we love you.
Hey, Stan, it's John Tezza. I first met Jerry in 2007 at my first FLDC in Atlanta. We became fast friends, and he became my first real mentor in the franchise business. I'll never forget how gracious he was and how welcoming he was, and how he would introduce me to just about everybody in his network. I can honestly say that the foundation of the relationships that I've built in the franchise industry, I can trace back to Jerry. We're obviously very sad at his passing, and we love the guy, and the franchise industry is not going to be the same without him. Thanks so much for pulling this together. I can't wait to share it with everybody and for all of us to commiserate together once we've had a chance to listen to it.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Hicks. I'm an avid listener to the Franchise Today podcast, and just for some context, I'm also a podcast host and I'm also a franchise supplier. But first and foremost, Stan, I want to thank you for putting this together. I know it's very hard to lose your best friend and a brother like you have, at least in physical form, because Jerry and his legacy and his impact will always live for the folks that he's touched, which is far and wide-reaching. It's hard for the industry to lose someone like Jerry. He was a super connector. He was a bridge builder. He cared deeply about franchising and all the people that it touches. So I met Jerry in May of 2015. I was standing at a break table in IFE at New York. And it's actually a funny story as he rolled up on that famous red scooter and he started holding court. But I was young in the industry and Jerry really took me under his wing. We started doing weekly calls, which led to daily calls oftentimes. I got the privilege of spending a lot of time with him in person on the road. I got to hang out with he and Bonnie at the farm in Kentucky. I got to consult with him, and he taught me so many things that I couldn't even begin to summarize in a 10-hour podcast, much less a couple of minutes. You know, it's said that whenever the student is ready, the mentor appears. And I was certainly ready and willing to learn, and Jerry opened up the world to me in franchising. He made connections. He put me in rooms, and I like to think that the building blocks of what he gave me are blossoming in amazing ways. But I think that for the rest of my time that I'm blessed with on this earth, I'll forever reap a royalty on the wisdom that Jerry imparted with me, much of which I probably haven't even fully absorbed. So to all the folks that were close to Jerry, and for those that are mourning his loss, which is all of us, forget not that there are strong arms around you, there's strong arms around us. We selfishly don't want to see Jerry gone, but he finished his work. He gave enough to this world, and I know that he's on to bigger and better things, making connections and building bridges in probably a heavenly dimension. And so, Jerry, I want to say to you, brother, that I love you. I'm working on becoming the bull, like we always discuss. And I hope to make you proud as I play a role in the next generation of franchising, which was jump-started and incubated because of your generosity, because of your guidance. I love you, brother. The whole franchise community loves you, brother. I'm going to miss you.
34 voices, one consistent message. What a treat getting to hear some of these amazing moments and memories that we've all been blessed to share with Jerry. Thanks for tuning in and being part of this. Remember, I'm here every Wednesday at noon Eastern, presenting guest interviews with the best in franchising. You can find Franchise Today and a catalog of hundreds of these interviews virtually anywhere that podcasts are found. Or simply Google the Franchise Today podcast or ask Alexa to play the latest episode. Until next week when I'm back to do it all again, I'm Stan Friedman wishing you the best, the very best of all things franchising. And Franchise Today is out.
Franchise Today is a production of FRM Solutions, providing best-in-class CRM tools to empower relationships with prospective and existing franchisees. No excuses, just solutions. Find them online at frmsolutions.com. Join Stan every Wednesday at noon Eastern for another live episode of Franchise Today. Or, as always, download episodes on demand at blogtalkradio.com or iTunes.
When it's PCS time, you know the drill. Pack, research the new base, get the kids in school, because family supports family. At American Public University, we support military families with flexible, affordable online education that moves with you. As a military spouse, your tuition rate is the same as your partner's, just $250 per credit hour. American Public University, education that moves with you. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.